the next question is, should Joe Biden pardon all the people that stormed the Capitol and use that as a peace gesture toward the right? They write almost half of the country voted for Trump, although the few hundreds that stormed the Capitol were wrong. We cannot group all 70 million together. The Democratic Party has shown serious neglect toward the values of middle America, or that middle American values. We need a way to deal with that, and it won't happen if we don't even try to understand the core of the issues. Let me start with, well, actually, let me give you the opportunity to say the what I'm thinking to the answer. Should we pardon them?
I think what you're thinking is no. Next question.
Expletive. No. Under no circumstances do we pardon these criminals. Sorry. If you went in there with the intent of defecating on the floor and urinating on desks and smashing the inside of our Capitol with the intent of stopping the elector count and stopping the peaceful transfer of power that has been the hallmark of this country since 1800, no, you go to jail. No, you are held accountable. And not just those people that were actually in the Capitol. For me, it's all the people who enabled them and incited them and encouraged them to go. We're now finding out so much. So for me, this idea that we're going to blanket pardon everyone, no. Now, should all 70 million people be indicted because of it? No, but you do have to go, hey, I think we were wrong. We were wrong in that this election wasn't stolen from us. We were wrong in that there wasn't all the fraud and all of the stuff that the Giulianis and the Trumps were throwing out at us. At some point, it's okay to be wrong, but you got to admit it. Or am I missing something here, Brett?
No, I think you're right. I think the listeners' concern for bringing the country together and bringing the right and the left together into some place where we can have some kind of common discourse, something that's all intentioned in exactly the right way, just not on this issue. I mean, if anything, we should unify around the prosecution of these people, and they should probably be expelled from the groups they inhabited previously. And we should all come together as Americans and say, no, talk about politics stopping at the water's edge. You know what I mean? This is where we all come together.
No, and for me, the other part of this
have to be held accountable.
Right. The other part of this is this was domestic terrorism. Our country was attacked. We were attacked from within. We would have never allowed the Islamo-fascists to come, but it seems to be a lot of the Christo-fascists we're okay with. It was a little light treason. Nothing overly heavy. And well, hell, we recorded it. So we were open about it. And look, I don't know how it happened. We shouldn't have been surprised by it because they were saying for weeks and months that they were going to do this. It just again shows me this level of some people are more equal than others.
Right. And that's, one set of rules for one group, another set of rules for everybody else. And that's one of the things that we really have to attack. And, I want unity as much as the next guy, but, not on this issue. These people did what they did, and they came very close to what could easily be called a massacre. I mean, they were very close to some of these folks, and it could have turned really bad. Not to mention, it killed 5 people. You know what I mean? They killed 5 people, and 4 of them I'm not all that sorry about. The 5th one bothers me an awful lot. But this is something that if this had happened, if anyone else had done this, we would all be outraged, and rightly so.
Right.
But sometimes when we have certain groups of people who engage in this kind of behavior, they seem to have a tendency to think they're going to get away with it. And then we get to watch them at the airport, getting arrested, trying to hop their flights home, which I'm sorry is the most delicious thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. I found great joy in that as well. But, the weird thing for me is the people who are calling for this kind of forgiveness, this kind of immunity, this kind of pardon behavior is they're the same groups who have, for years saying, we need, hard laws, mandatory minimums. We need maximum sentences. They're the law and order people. In fact, to be interesting, my neighborhood, and I live in a very conservative neighborhood, before the attack filled with we support the police signs. Oddly enough, the day after the attack, those signs seem to have disappeared. So it's one of these weird moments where the winds of anger seem to be now pointed at police and at establishment and at law and order because we are holding some of these criminals accountable. Look, I don't want anyone attacking our capital. I don't want anyone trying to usurp our democracy and undo a couple hundred years of peaceful transfers of power. And it's not going to happen. And that's why they need to be held accountable. At least my thoughts.
Right, right. And when you look back, I know there's been a million different comparisons to the Black Lives Matter protests over the summer and so on, but a lot of the people who are asking for this forgiveness now are the same people tweeting out, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. You know what I mean? And we're having these kind of Rambo fantasies during those things, and a couple of them actually went out and killed folks.
Yeah.
So I'm not seeing the application of law and order, in the same light as we did over the summer, and we really need to address that.
I got to tell you, one of the funniest things for me, and it's not funny, but I guess ironic. You had Lauren Boebert, who I have affectionately titled as Gun Fetish Barbie. She tweeted out on the day that today is 1776. Now, for me, as someone who knows a lot of so-called patriots, who are the overthrow the government crowd, for me, that's a dog whistle saying, "Hey, this is the beginning of the revolution. Grab your muskets, boys. We're going to war." What I found interesting is the same woman who said, "Hey, today's 1776," then said, "I wish I had my gun with me." The Capitol Police, I would have protected everybody from the people that she riled up. So it was kind of this weird moment where you go, okay, you helped incite these people to this, and now you're talking about wanting to shoot them. Which side of this have you chosen? Because it's a weird moment.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, in the events since that day are almost stranger than the events of that day. And seeing how, and watching the spin machine work now, here we are a couple weeks out, and, there are people out there saying that we should just forget it. Just forget it. Impeachment, forget it. It's stupid. Don't do it. You know what I mean? It stuns me that an attack on the Capitol of the United States, regardless of who's responsible for it, is something that we're like, meh, let's just let it all go. And no, it absolutely stuns me.
Right. Now they hit this point that, and they argue that it's the Democrats who don't, understand, Midwestern values. And I would argue that I may agree a little bit. Democrats, I think, have done too much on the side of Wall Street, not enough on the side of Main Street. I will openly and fully say that. But the Republicans have been just downright against everything that our country was built on, the American dream was built on. So this kind of double standard, and then saying that the media has done all this. No, we've allowed ourselves to do this because I would argue things like Facebook have put us in our own little silos where we're not willing to talk to each other. And I hope this is a moment where we wake up from that and we begin having these conversations.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did my graduate work in rhetoric, in learning about public discourse, learning about persuasion, learning about how groups of people are moved. And the one thing I learned that was probably the best lesson of all is that no one is above the influence. If you think that you can't be moved by this stuff, you're wrong. I'm a professional. I've been doing this for a lot of years. I'm not above the influence. I still get pushed and moved and moved around the chessboard in some way, shape, or form. I'm usually fairly aware of it. But, it's something that just happens. These things, they come at you, in a very repetitive manner, in a very think tank approved and focus group tested manner that is really, really good at stoking two things: one, fear; two, anger. All right. And that's what we live on. We live on fear. We live on anger. We get people to react rather than think. And then we push them where we want them to go. And if you want to see how far that can go, watch the footage from the Capitol. All right. Because you can watch those folks from early in the day. It's a rally. They're there to support Donald Trump. And throughout the day, they get a nice little feed of negative rhetoric, some shouting, some screaming, and hey, let's move up that hill. And guess what they did? Exactly what they were told to do.
Right. So sort of wrap this up.
Sure.
I think everybody who was involved in this has to pay the consequence. You do the crime, you do the time. For the people who were there as the supporters who didn't go in, clearly there's nothing we're going to lock those people up. But as a society, we do need to. They're going to need to say, look, hey, we were wrong, and we have to go. Okay, we accept you back, and there not be a lifetime full of browbeating and all that. But there's got to be that kind of act of contrition. There's got to be, hey, I screwed this up, and we got to be big enough to go, yeah, we've made mistakes too.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. That's a great way to sum it all up.